Hello, are you out there? I'm Mark with Homebrew Fever Dreams, and I thought I would talk a little shop today. I've got the Mad Alchemist Lab. I did this little piece of art in Midjourney real quick, which is pretty cool. I love Midjourney. Um, so how about layer advantages? Right now in the book, if you've got a big monster, a big beefy creature that's going to be either the boss or the mini-boss in your campaign, you've got all these layer actions that usually happen on initiative 20. It's pretty powerful stuff. You've also got legendary resistances, which means if your group's trying to dominate a monster, hold person, whatever, the big bad can just brush it off and say, yeah, I shrug that off. Doesn't affect me. It was really nice. But let's think about more mini-boss, mid-level. Think the first tier of play. Your party's level 4. They're going to take out the mad alchemist in this cave, or a rabid cave bear that a known hunter within the community got injured by, barely survived the attack, made its way back to town, and as the party is going to get information about this creature, where it's at, what its strengths might be, the hunter relates the fact that when I tracked the animal into its den, the roots of the forest were snagging at my feet all the time, and as I came into the final den, the creature roared. Rocks fell from the ceiling as though under the command of the creature. It seemed to know I was coming before I even got there. Clearly, it's a home in its cave as any creature has a right to be. Something like that. A little bit of color. So, you're going to want to telegraph to your party that if they go after your mini-bosses, we'll call them, in their safe space, in their lair, they're going to be a lot tougher. Now, what does tougher mean? Well, we don't want to necessarily give them legendary resistance or layer actions outright that are specifically written to, the Kraken, it does this, and, they're going to roll these. No, just keep it simple. Advantage on saving throws. That right there is going to allow your mini boss, even if they were to say have a hold person or dominate monster, calm emotion, whatever, they might get locked up for a turn, but having advantage on those saving throws is going to let them shrug off, resist, break free much sooner. Why does this matter? Because so often we've got our boss fights, and when that boss is unsupported, which I would encourage you to always have some minions helping your boss out. But any DM out there worth their salt has had that boss fight where it's like, yeah, they locked down my boss and it was over in 2 rounds. I was so bummed. I just couldn't stretch it out. And a lot of us DMs are sitting here thinking, well, yeah, you've always got to support your boss. You've got to have henchmen in there helping them out. It's like you've got your demi-lich. Well, you better have a couple, shadows coming out of the woodwork to help defray the damage and to deal damage and balance that action economy. That all makes sense. But sometimes you don't want to have 3 or 4 henchmen running around. Sometimes you just want that boss fight. This is a good way to get it. It's a good way to take a standard creature block, such as a cave bear, and make it a lot tougher to take down. You're going to give it potentially advantage on all saving throws, whether they're proficient in it or, whatever, they have a +5 and, it's like all saving throws. You could even go so far as to give advantage on all their attacks or their 2-hit spell rolls, thus greatly upping their damage. So they're a lot more lethal. Especially when it comes down to that action economy, your big bad misses a couple dice, attack rolls, and it's like, shoot, well, that didn't do anything this turn. It's like, give them advantage. It's really going to help out. It doesn't mean that your players can't find ways to confer disadvantage, thus neutralizing the advantage on those attack rolls. So a smart party is going to find ways to neutralize that. There's not much they can do about the advantage on the saving throws. I can even see giving advantage on ability checks when your big bad is in their lair. This could come into deception rolls, perception rolls, stealth rolls. All those things would matter. Think of, again, a wight or something within their barrow. They're moving around in there, but they know it so well, and they blend with the shadows and just everything about it, every cobweb, the very smells within the place help obscure the undead's presence. So I would encourage you to telegraph that to your players if they bother to do a little research. Let them know that, yeah, if you go after these guys where they're strongest, where they're most suited and girded, it's going to be a lot harder. So they're prepared. They're going to gather information, but they might find ways to cleverly lure the boss out to them. The cave bear's got to come out and eat occasionally, or maybe you go hunt a deer yourself, you gut it, you leave the carcass, 100 yards out in front of the cave bear. A little gust of wind to get that aroma in there. I bet you within a few minutes that cave bear would come out to investigate the smell of dead meat. Cave bears love foraging, whatever they can get. They're omnivores, right? They like a little bit of carrion. Or, in the case of the mad alchemist here, some crazy gnome, they've got to go buy supplies. Or maybe you have some rare item you're selling at market and you spread the word around that you've got a little unicorn horn. That's hard to get for a mad alchemist, and they would really want it. Maybe you can get them to come to the local bazaar at the town. Or heck, you could even serve them with legal papers. The magistrates demanding they appear because of a lien on their property for overdue taxes. And they're like, lien on my property? That's ridiculous. Well, I'll see about that. And they go through and they get all their tax documents for the last 3 seasons, and they load up their pack and head off to the courthouse. You just happen to be laying in wait for them on the roadway. They're a lot easier to handle. They're not prepared. They're not in their safe place. Any mini boss you're going to throw at your party, you're going to have a name for them, what they're doing wrong in the world, like what makes them the bad guy, a little mythos that you've developed. So you're already going to probably put in, 30 minutes to maybe a couple hours building up in other sessions leading to this confrontation. Take a little bit of time to describe how the lair benefits the bad guy, so that if that does come down to it, you can describe, yes, as you go to cast your spell to hold person on the mad alchemist, you see a glyph up on the window there, glint, or on the tabletop, triggering to the harmful magic you're trying to target the alchemist with. The lab is reacting to you. Or sparks are thrown from one of the nearby beakers on the shelf, thus distracting you in the moment, giving advantage to the alchemist as he casts his alchemist's fire beaker upon you, giving advantage to his attack roll. So think of a couple little things like that, so you're not just, snapping your fingers and saying, he's got advantage on everything. I don't know why, just it's because it's the rules. Add some color, so it'll really bring the battle to life. Now, I would add in there, you may be going, man, this is going to take that CR on that character, that monster block, and make it so much tougher if I confer all these advantages automatically. Bear in mind, for the most part, the lair doesn't go with the big bad. So if your party's smart and they want to avoid a TPK, and you don't want to TPK them, they can run. They can head out the front door the same way they came in and go get to safety. If the big bad follows them out the front door or the front of the cave or the lava cavern where the magma elemental happens to reside and is at its strongest, calling forth belches of steam and choking sulfurous gas almost at a whim, thus aggravating everything the party tries to do to take on the magma elemental, they can just peace out. And then if the magma elemental goes out there, it equalizes that fight. It makes it much easier for them. So it gives roleplay opportunity. It allows for the deployment of strategies before the fight and even tactics within the fight to some degree for both the bad guy and the party, depending on who's playing more clever at the time. The DM who is playing the bad NPCs and the players who are playing the PCs. So I think there's a lot there to it. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to throw in. Now, just make sure you telegraph a little bit, though, so your party's not completely blindsided by this. They're like, what, it has legendary actions? I didn't know. And it's like, no. I told you that, if you chose to go get that cave bear in its cave, in its den, it was going to be a lot more difficult, and it is. So, simple thing, requires almost no effort on the DM's part, but it's going to hopefully make that big bad last for the 3, the 4, the 5 rounds of combat. That's going to make for a memorable confrontation as opposed to a 2-turn wipeout, one-sided ass whooping. And if worse comes to worse, that initial confrontation, the party is getting their butts handed to them and they've got to make a hasty retreat. Awesome. You've now demonstrated how threatening your boss really is, your mini boss, and now they're going to go gain a level, they're going to prepare, maybe get some magic items, and go confront that mini boss again, or again, confront them out of the lair if they're really using their head. So, simple little tactic, requires so little. You don't need a special booklet, you don't got to go buy some bonus module to figure out how to do this. You can do this in any roleplay system, D&D or otherwise. It's just that simple. Yeah, if you watched, I appreciate it. Take care. Good luck gaming, folks.